Hey guys, Cheyenne Knox, Presidential Diamond here, and I'm really excited to start doing these training videos for not only my team but for anybody that is willing to watch. When I got started, I went straight to YouTube because I knew that there's so many top leaders and so much stuff to be learned, and that was the only way I was going to be able to do it, especially if this is the way that you do learn, watching, hearing. And so that's something I really, really want to do for y'all because it helps me out so much. So today I really want to talk about, being an angry leader, making those journeys through becoming a leader and going through things, because you always have growing pains, you're always learning, you're always having to be willing to fail and be willing to be uncomfortable in order to grow. And this business is all about leadership. It's all about like layered leadership, pouring into your team, leading from the front, showing them and leading by example. And so the biggest thing is you're going to struggle and you're going to go through things that test your character, and they test you, but they're going to make you grow in the end, and they're going to make you learn so much about yourself, so much about being a leader, and just the outcome that comes from that, being able to build really strong leaders on your team and to grow and be wiser throughout your own journeys of failures and successes and everything. So first and foremost, I kind of want to share a little bit of my journey and things that I've gone through that I was able to grow from. A lot of it is stuff that you're going to have to go through in order to be able to be like, wow, I remember when Cheyenne said that. But you're going to, just because, things happen in this business. You get put in uncomfortable situations. You have to make decisions for your team as a whole, and you have to become a better leader every day, because your team is only going to get bigger, as long as you're putting one foot in front of the other and always being willing to learn. It's going to happen. So when I started, I went diamond pretty quickly. I went diamond in 5 months, which I consider to be fast. I always say never compare your timeline to someone else. I think that was really awesome in the moment. It was just so much momentum. I promoted in May, so it was all throughout boom season, and I was really excited. I had girls on my team that I thought would be with me the whole time that I was in the business. I was in high school when I started, so a lot of them were, really young, in high school as well. And I just knew, I was like, oh, these girls are going to be with me all the way to ambassador. And when I started, I had a little paper that said, January executive, February ruby, this diamond, and by April I was going to go ambassador. I'm a go-getter. I really wanted that, it was like $150,000 bonus then. And I really wanted that. Didn't realize that timeline was a bit quick, but, I learned in the process. But I was really excited and very ambitious when I got started. And I went diamond, and I maintained diamond until August. And I moved into school, went through some life changes, went through some struggles, and I lost rank from diamond to executive. With that, not only came, discouragement, it came people quitting, it came, a bad season, it came like enrollments going down, and it also came my paychecks dropping from, over $2,000 being a really hefty paycheck for an 18-year-old to about $200 a month. And around that time, I was paying for school full time, paying for my car, insurance, gas, food, everything. Because of this business, when I joined, I didn't have to ask my parents for a single dime. And so when it hit that, I was like, yikes, that's not going to pay the bills. I need to do something. And I turned to my team and turned into an angry leader. I was so mad that, my girls weren't working. I was so angry that, people were quitting and I couldn't get any good people to join my team. And I was so frustrated that I would do work Zooms and team Zooms, and 2 people would show up every single time, and I would get off and bawl my eyes out because people weren't showing up for me like I was showing up for them, or what I felt like I was showing up for them. Those trainings, I love leading. That's why I'm obviously sitting here talking to y'all. I love to lead, and my team wasn't accepting that leadership. And it wasn't that they weren't accepting that. There's so many aspects that I'm going to go over in a little bit about that. But, I was so angry and so discouraged and so mad and so unhappy and so negative that nothing was ever going to work in that environment. Nothing was ever going, even if it was positive, I wouldn't even notice it because I was so stuck on everything that wasn't working. So in that environment, you can't grow. You can't move on to bigger and better things. You can't see the positives in the things you're doing or that your team is doing, or those 2 people that are showing up on your work Zoom. You're not going to look at that. You're looking at all these things that are not working instead of looking at all the things that are. And so, August, September, October, November, December, January, I maintained executive, sometimes ruby, depending on if my volume was split or not. But during that time, I didn't realize, I never pointed the finger at me. I was pointing it at my team. And they always say, that cheesy thing, you point at your team, there's 3 fingers pointing back at you. And I never opened my eyes to that. I never was like, oh, this is me. This is my fault. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that. It was, my team isn't doing this. My team isn't doing that. My team isn't enrolling. I would look at downline orders every day and no enrollments would be made for that day, that week, or that month. And it's crazy because actually, just a little tidbit, I looked at our enrollments for this month, and from January 1st to the 11th of 2018, my team enrolled 23 enrollments, period. Distributors, customers, 23. That was all. This month, I just did customers, but it was 411 customers from the 1st to the 11th. Guys, a year difference, and look at that, 23 to 411. So, during that time, there was no enrollments. And, as much as I say like, oh, my team wasn't enrolling, I wasn't working, I wasn't enrolling, I wasn't doing anything. I was copy and pasting posts. I wasn't messaging anyone. I wasn't following anybody. I was going live about the business, about all the stuff that I was doing, but I wasn't maintaining and I wasn't making any money. And I was so in my own head. I was so angry and I was so mad at my team. And I was, every time they would do stuff, I'm like, well, why aren't you working? And why aren't you posting? And I was being more of a dictator and someone that was bulldozing my team to get where I wanted to be, instead of being a friend, instead of loving them, and instead of, wondering why they aren't working and talking them through that, and, being a human to them instead of some person that just wanted to make more money. And, I can look back at that and say that now, but it took me a long time to realize that. So I went to conference and January came around and my heart and my mind were so open to change. I'd cried to my upline. I'd cried to Jade, Courtney, was like, look, like something's got to give, man. I need money. I'm so tired of this. I don't know what to do. I don't know if like maybe I was a one-hit wonder. Like, I don't know what's going on. And Jade was like, you've got to stop being an angry leader. And she's like, you need to get a plan and you need to make that plan for your team and not just for yourself. And that was the biggest, change that she could have ever told me. And so I got my Double Diamond chart out and I went to conference. I learned so much. I took away so many aha moments from that, which is not what this video is about, but so many things that I learned and truly saw that in the moment of me trying to get rank back, I was literally bulldozing my team and being so awful to them and expecting them to, enroll and do all the things that I was expecting them to do, but I wasn't willing to do myself. And that was a really, really big eye opener. And so, in February, I got Diamond back. And then in March, I went double. So I went from executive to Diamond to double in a 3-month time span and brought my paycheck from $200 to over $5,000. And so your question probably is, well, what did you do differently? I started to love my team, you guys. I started to show up for them. I started texting them, asking them about their life. I started, making sure they had their charts. I got a binder when I went double Diamond. And I made dividers for my team and I, put executive Ruby and Emerald charts and stapled them together and got my team working and, gave them goals to reach and, made them feel empowered and loved and excited instead of me saying, why aren't you working? Why aren't you enrolling? Asking these questions that they don't know how to achieve because I wasn't teaching them. I was doing it all myself and trying to just, push them to enroll when I wasn't teaching them what was working for me. So that was the number one thing, is get a goal and help your team achieve those goals as well. And don't try to make your own goals, doing it all for them, because once you get past double and try going triple and try going presidential, you can't do that on your own. So that whole mentality of trying to control everything, I really struggled with that, especially around the $45 deal in April. After I went double, I completely lost control of my team. And I felt so overwhelmed, and I kind of went through another period of just being angry because I couldn't control it all, and I couldn't control, the distributors that were posting badly, or the people that never got off commission hold, or the people that never enrolled. I wanted to do that so badly, and I couldn't. So, definitely look at that and make sure you have your goal set. And second off, learn to just take a chill pill and just understand that, like, what you're doing is what your team is doing. So pushing them, if you're not pushing yourself, you're pouring from an empty cup. If you're not watching personal development and getting right in your mind and understanding the work you're doing, they're going to follow. Then if you don't do anything, they're not going to do anything either. And you can't get mad at them for that, because you should be mad at yourself. And that's a really big thing to accept. So, first, get a goal set, do it yourself and help your team learn to do those goals as well, so that they're going to learn replication to teach their team to reach goals too. Know that you can't pour from an empty cup. If you're not doing personal development, if your mindset's not ready, if you're looking at the negatives instead of the positives, if you're not teaching your team to, be excited and do the things that you're doing and have them follow your lead, they don't have a lead to follow if you're not leading them. So always make sure you're posting and doing everything you're supposed to be doing. And I know that it's very easy to wake up and be like, I don't really want to do that today. And, I'm really not feeling it. I don't want to do this and I don't want to do that. Well, you would be mad at your team if they decided to do that as well. So understand too, that everything that you're doing, you should do the same thing that you're expecting your team to do. If you tell them to message 100 people, you better message 100 people. If you tell them to make their own post, you better wake up and write your own post. If you're telling them to do this, you better make sure you're doing it. Because if you're telling them to do something and you're doing it, they're going to be much more willing to do it because they know that they're watching you do the same thing, especially if you're creating success from it. And that was the biggest thing too, is I did enrollments for our team and I did top 10 and I was the number one enroller. And I loved that, not because I enrolled a lot, but because I wanted to show them that everything I'm telling them to do, ever since I discovered that, you can't lead and you can't, not do what you're expecting your team to do and be an angry leader. I started pushing and I started working like I did when I was going diamond in 5 months. I got my fire back and, I realized that you're going to go through so many things. And I want to touch on that a little bit after this. I'm almost done, I promise. But, I just want y'all to really focus on that and, think, am I loving my team? Am I doing what I'm expecting my team to do? Am I leading? Am I giving them stuff in order to reach goals instead of me trying to reach the goals for them and getting mad at them for not reaching the goals they don't know how to reach? So, and I want you to know that if you have lost rank, if you have been, lost in the leadership lane, trying to figure out how to lead your team, if you've been really struggling on how to love your team and maybe that's not your love language, find out what your love language is. Find out what your color language is and find out what your team's is. My biggest thing is I do color languages. So I have girls on my team that are very red like me, very money motivated. I always give them their goals and always, help them achieve the most money that they can, because that's how they feel led and that's how they feel in control. If someone's yellow, I always make sure that I'm checking in on them and being a friend to them and loving them in the process of teaching them how to do this business. If they're green, I'm always giving them, compensation and, this and that and new product stuff and descriptions and everything that they need in order to excel in this business. Because if they don't feel like they're excelling in the way that they feel like they can, not everyone's red. So I can't, expect them to be motivated by money. I can't say do you not want this $500 monthly paycheck? They're going to be like, no, because I don't know what the compensation plan is. Or depending on what their color language is. So definitely try focusing on that. I can post a color language test in the description for y'all to be able to watch that or to do, and I love doing it. And that's really important to make sure that you're leading your team how they need to be led, because it's kind of like not being able to identify with something, and it's really hard to push for something. Because I know when I discovered it was at the the Dallas boot camp, I was a ruby, and 2 months later I went diamond, but it was at that boot camp that Mike Patillo had introduced color language test. And, I saw that I was red and I was like, oh, heck yeah, that's me. I can relate to that. So, get a goal, make sure your team has a goal, that you're not trying to push for everyone else, and, teaching that layer leadership, understanding that, you always have to be leading your team and doing what you're expecting them to do, making sure you're doing that color language test and really, really, truly getting to know the people on your team so that you're able to lead them and love them better, so that they feel more inspired and more, understanding of how and where they're going, because they know how they're going to get there, because they know what motivates them. And just understand too, that you're going to go through things. You're going to, go through growing pains and trying to figure out who to lead and how to lead and what to do and how to control your team and, what to be pouring into them. There's so many things I've done that I've failed at, so many competitions or so many posts or so many things I told them to do that haven't worked, but I was willing to fail. And I think that's the most important. I think it's really important to make sure that your team sees that you love them, and they see that you're leading them and that you're doing all this stuff, and you're going to have growing pains, and, going presidential is hard, going ambassador is hard, going triple diamond's hard. But when you have leaders that are there, that love you, that are cheering you on, knowing that you're cheering them on right back, it's a huge, huge thing. And it's incredible being able to pull off something of that magnitude with a bunch of leaders that you have led, that you have grown, that you have taught, even through all the things that you've gone through. And I know that my team, I hope that they do, but I know they respect me because, I've taught them exactly what I've gone through. And, when it comes to that moment after I went diamond and going through all that soul searching, I'm open about that. And I tell them that, and I'm able to help them point it out quicker than I was, in the way that I was able to pull it myself because I didn't realize it. And I wish I would have realized it in the moment because I lost a lot of really good people that I tried to bulldoze over because I wanted money. So I hope that this helped y'all. If y'all ever have any questions, you're free to message me or comment below on this video. But I hope to do more of these training videos. And if you ever have anything that you really want me to talk about, definitely let me know because I would love to share it with y'all. And I hope that through, my trials and tribulations that I'm able to share that and just let y'all know that it does get better. There's so much more to come. And I'm so excited to watch all of y'all's journeys just unfold. But I love y'all and I hope you'll have a great rest of the day. I don't know when y'all will see this, but this is right before conference at the beginning of January. So I'm really excited to see y'all at conference and I hope that we get a picture together. So I'll talk to you later. Bye.